The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
But that's the same thing that I believe that they're doing with TSA. You know, I believe there's policies, or there's actually there may be a statute in there in the federal government where, at the stroke of a pen, the president can give every law enforcement, every official in the federal government law enforcement authority. That means the janitor to be a cop. Can you believe this?
Unbelievable.
And that's what they're setting up. And, you know, you got to go back to what that guy said. He wanted a civilian police force.
And he got it.
And he's quick,
yep.
And he's got it. It's called TSA.
Yeah, TSA, DHS. And, you know, when you bring up TSA, when I went through the airport, brother, and I haven't been on a plane in years, this is prior. I think the last time I was on a plane was back in the 90s. They didn't touch me. I walked, and there's no reason for them to touch you. You walk through that machine, it scans your whole body. Now, the woman standing behind me, they practically molested her. They didn't. When I went through that, I took the shoes off. Not a problem. You know, I walked through the machine. They scanned my whole body. I walked out. I went up to the guy who stands there to pat you down. He opened up his little rope and said, "Go right ahead, sir." Now, the woman standing behind me, she was an African-American, and they physically molested this lady, and she was an elderly lady. They were running their fingers up through her hair. They patted her from head to toe. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I tell you, I have a similar story like that. I was a couple of years back, and I really try to avoid the airport if I can, but now with the flying I have to do, I have no choice. But I'm standing there and I'm watching, and you know, Chief, you know when you watch people. Every cop watches people.
Everybody. My head's on a 360, brother, constantly. Yep.
So I'm eyeballing these two guys, and you know your spidey senses comes up, and you're going, boy, if I had an opportunity, these are the guys I'd be screening. Mm-hmm. They walk right through, not even spoken to, and they take a lady out of a wheelchair, and they give her the routine. And I'm like, what is wrong with this picture? What is so wrong with this picture?
You know, you're right. What is wrong with this picture? Because I was wearing the one shirt I was wearing, it says Mossad. It's never an accident. When I went through, and each time I went through and had to go through a security check, they didn't touch me. They didn't touch me one bit. They looked at my bags for 1 second, boom, right down to things. I mean, but the people behind me, and it was females. I couldn't believe it, that elderly females. This woman was wearing shorts, of all things, and not a tank top, but like a T-shirt with short sleeves on it. Nothing else. She was in bare feet, sandals, with her bare feet. She went through the scanner, and her hair was a little bit bigger. And they physically, if I could say that word, I guess molested this lady. I couldn't believe it. I was sitting there putting my shoes on in total shock. I'm thinking, boy, I just walked through there with this shirt that says Mossad. It's never an accident. And they didn't even give me a second look. Like, yep, go ahead, sir. I couldn't believe it.
It is a molestation. You do that kind of thing to someone you've taken into custody. You do that to someone you suspect of committing a crime. Here, go to a bar and try that and see what happens to you.
Oh, your butt's going to jail, brother. You're going right. You're going right to the can with that one. Yeah, that's sexual assault here in PA. If you start doing that kind of stuff, you know, you start feeling up girls and stuff like that here in a bar. Boy, you're in big trouble. I can tell you that. Or even out in public, anywhere. You know, go.
You can't point a finger at somebody today
without
getting in trouble. And these people are groping people. You know, I just don't. I mean, I get it for the security. I get it, but there's a limit. There's a limit.
Sure.
And don't tell me we don't have technologies. I was at an event with an Israeli doctor who told me that they have such border security apparatus that electronically they could seal our border, and we don't want to know about it. We don't want to know about it. They have, and look, They have ways of detecting explosives and things that we don't want to know about it. We're going to this arcane situation of groping people physically, and
Exactly.
it doesn't have to be done.
Let me tell you, when you walk through that machine that scans your whole entire body, there's no way, shape, or form, if you're hiding something on your person, even in your hair, it's going to pick it up. You're not going to get through there with anything hidden on your body. There's no way. There's no need for them to even touch you. Now, I understand, you know, it detects explosives. It detects everything. There's no need for anybody to be touching anyone, period.
No, and then it just shouldn't be, you know, and then you hear stories of them taking children, you know, separating them from their parents. I mean, where are we living? Where are we living? That doesn't happen here. That does not happen here.
You know, this administration this guy, whoever he may be, he has taken it to a whole new level. He's keeping his promise. He has been fundamentally changing our country. And you know what? We don't even know who he is. That's right. The scary part.
Steve, I can't do a background on this guy and get past a certain age. There's no history on him.
Yeah.
It's like a ghost. You know when you get those guys, you run them through NCIC and they hardly come up?
Yeah.
There's like nothing here. That's what it's like. There's nothing there. I can't figure it out. You know, and he sealed his personal records, or he refuses to release school records. I mean, think about this. Here's a guy who claims, we know he was, the president of the Harvard Law Review. The president of the Harvard Law Review never authored a paper, never wrote anything. Now, I find that really hard to believe. His college thesis, where is it? It was probably so radical that they don't want to release it. But you can't find any of this information. There's 400 alumni from Columbia University through the years of 80 to 83. They just had their 30th year reunion, and nobody in that reunion remembers seeing him. And the poli-sci class that he took was only 150 students. You have to, out of 150 students from 400, there's got to be one guy that sat next to him and borrowed a pencil.
Or spoke to him, or was friends with him.
Right, and there's nobody. There's nobody.
You know, I don't know anybody that went to college that didn't attend a class, didn't become friends on a personal level with somebody in that class or in that school.
Right.
Period. It doesn't happen.
Well, let me give you a better one. When we were doing the background on this, we came across Columbia University. There's a clearing service that will confirm whether someone has a degree from an institution, because you can't really go to the institution because they can't release that information to you, but this clearing service does it. And it showed him as being there from 81 to, I believe, 83. 1980 to 81, though, was missing. So contacts were made to Columbia, and this was a problem because I had a missing year now on this guy, on top of 400 people not knowing who he was, including a professor there. I said never saw him, and he was in poli-sci. Columbia issues a statement that they made a mistake, and they went in and they cleared their computer and re-entered the information.
How convenient.
Now, how convenient. I've got college records that have an error. I have a selective service card that I know is a forgery. I have a birth certificate I've confirmed is a forgery. Every pertinent document to this man's background regarding his identity or whereabouts is seriously flawed. I mean, I could give you a misspelling on your birth certificate.
Sure.
I could give you, maybe you put the wrong zip code on your selective service card or transposed a number on your Social Security number. But when you've got everything this guy touches has got serious problems, it starts to scream to you as a manufactured background. There's just something terribly wrong here.
You know, that's what we've got to stress to the general public, because they don't understand it, because we look at it from a law enforcement perspective. We're trained to look at stuff like this. We could pick that kind of stuff out. or the general public, they can't, or they just don't want to believe what we have to say. But we just got to keep driving it home and driving it home and saying, hey, this is real. This ain't nonsense. This is serious stuff. We have somebody sitting in the highest office in this country calling all the shots, and we have no idea who he is. Not one shred of evidence.
You don't have to believe the lie. You choose to believe the lie. And people will believe a lie because it's a lot more convenient than having to push forward and discover the truth. The truth is easy to understand once you find it. But for the majority of people, it's easier to believe the lie. And they've conditioned people now, especially through the Internet, to rely on a 1 and 30-second soundbite to think they have a complete understanding of an issue. Well,
exactly.
If you've got a 1 and 30-second, a perfect lie, and you know this from every, skull that you ever interviewed, you know that there's always kernels of truth in a really good lie.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what throws you off. So you learn as an investigator to disregard the truth and focus on the lie. Because if I can disprove the lie, I'm going to eventually get to the complete truth. So you don't listen to the truth. You cast the truth aside. You keep it in the back of your head. But you work on the lies. If I could blow up the lie, I'm going to get to the truth. But, the average guy doesn't know this. He's not trained like this. And nor should he be.
Mm-hmm.
We should have a process in this country that you're getting the news, it's the news, not an editorial. Or not some scripted, a news report. Like they scripted the Benghazi news reports. And that just shouldn't be happening. So we have a controlled media. We don't have a free press anymore.
No, I truly believe we didn't have a free press for way before my time, brother. This has been going on a long time. Way before I was even in existence. The stuff that's been happening in this country. I mean,
I'll tell you. Excuse me, and let me tell you something, and I'm embarrassed to admit this. Until I started this, I had no idea that there was no vetting of a presidential candidate or a president-elect by any organization within the federal government. The federal government does not vet or do a background on the elected candidate, and this came right from them. They told me that the way it's done is through the Constitution, which is the requirements to sit in office,
mm-hmm.
through the loyal opposition, and through the media. If you look at this complete situation here, you've got the Constitution, as far as natural born, in my opinion, is being modified without a constitutional amendment, number one. Number two, you've got the media is complicit now and favors one side, the left, on this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So what does the loyal opposition do? They can scream and shout, but they don't have the media outlets, and you don't have media backing the play, looking into the issue. This is how we end up where we are today.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.